Boy, I'm really sorry these chores are coming out later. We're going to have April deer chores, and all of a sudden there's going to be May deer chores just 2 weeks later. That's kind of reflective. We had a baby born. Lily was born on March 31st. Jackson's birthday was the 30th, so we wanted them 2 years apart. Just not like that exact. They're only a day apart in birthday, but both Jen and Lily are really doing well. Jen's getting a lot less sleep than I am. I feel tired out, and I'm getting a lot more sleep than she does. So she's been a superstar and great mom. It's really cool to see, but pushed everything back a little bit. So part of our deer chores kind of got a little bit mumbled up there in the first part of April. Again, I always go through what we're going through when we're going through deer chores and what we're doing each month. So I'm going to go through this list of what we're trying to accomplish right now. And there's a lot more than this. We do a lot of strategy planning for our hunt. And so I would say the entire year, all 12 months, we're always looking at new stand locations, new setups, new approaches, how are we getting in and out. And there's a few of those right now. We have Jared the excavator. He's coming out here this weekend. We have some marked some areas for 811, which is dig, to make sure we're not running into lines. And so that's something we're doing right now too, but probably not something that a lot of people are doing. We can't wait because a lot of those are setting up water holes and access for blind locations, and those are really important. But number one here, tree planting time to me is April. Now that can lead into May, but it depends on when those trees are pulled. So a lot of times tree plantings, even if you're getting it from your conservation district, they'll come at a set time. Where we're going, Dylan, is it Yellow River?
Yellow River Nurseries.
Yeah, Yellow River Nurseries over by Stevens Point.
Marshfield, south side of Marshfield.
Yeah, so we've used those the last couple of years. Dylan's been using them for a few years. Dylan recommends a lot of people go there, and we got spruce there from last year, and we have a bunch of red cedar coming in. We're filling in a steep embankment face and weedy area, and that's where they're growing there naturally. So we're going to add a whole bunch. We have 250 coming this year. So that'll be going in this year, and when they come, they come. You know, when they're available, they're available. And so we need to pick them up, get them. You need to go put them in the ground, make sure they're fresh. I notice over the next 2 weeks, today it's the last day of our 70-degree weather. We had 3 or 4 days of it, and then tomorrow it's back in the 50s, and it looks that way for a couple weeks. We'll see how it plays out, but a little cooler, more normal for this temperature, and it's perfect for getting trees in the ground because you're getting moisture. It's not hot, and that's one of the biggest risks of planting trees is you get drought. So we spent many afternoons, I did very little. I did some, but Jen and Wes works our seed company, the two of them, they really watered a lot of shrubs and trees last year, including our spruce. All our shrubs and trees were put in by Big Rock Trees, our diversity pockets, just hours and hours. I would say 8 to 10 times they had to be watered. And even just our shrubs and trees alone, not even counting the spruce, that was about a day and a half to 2 days of watering, times 8 to 10. So, and they're spread out over a couple miles. And so really a lot of effort to get those done, but it's worth it. And that's how we get those trees in April and not May or June. Want to get it in when the soil's damp, cooler temperatures, because the risk of drying out and drought will just kill those trees like nothing else. So that's what we're doing. April's a great time to do so. We're using a lot for screening, for filling in habitat, like we've done around our diversity pockets. You take open areas or lines, screening from ag fields where you have that switchgrass barrier, and then we have a spruce barrier. We have lots of room to do so, and so we'll add those lines in there. Pockets where you have, I don't like big plantings. If you have 10 acres to work with, you'd never want more than a half acre, 3/4 of an acre at most with conifers, and those should be in pockets. Well, think pockets, think lines of screening with conifers, and then of course the diversity pocket shrubs, just an awesome time of the year. And if you don't have your order in with Big Rock Trees for shrubs at this point in the year, it's probably too late. You want to make sure you check it out on their website, but I know they go through their trees and shrubs that are available every year very quickly. Number 2, flinging some arrows. You know, I notice as I get older, I notice the aches and pains are a lot more real. I'm 54 years old. And I used to be able to pick up my bow and just shoot, you know, no big deal. Shoot 30, 40 arrows, 50 arrows. If I hadn't shot for 3 months, just go out there and fling them. But I noticed there's a lot more buildup. It used to be back in the day, I never had a great arm playing baseball. Played baseball all the way until my senior year in high school, and then played softball till I was 25. I loved playing competitive sports, and my arm, I can remember on my knees throwing at a couch, waiting for that ball to bounce back, just real slow soft toss down in the basement before baseball even began in January. So baseball might have began late February, March, indoors, and I'm down there throwing for 2 months just to get my arm loosened up and ready. And it's kind of like with bow I'm seeing nowadays is, my shoulder's a little bit sore, a little bit stiff. You pull it back, things creak and pop. And so you really want to be, even if you're just flinging 10 arrows a few times a week, that really keeps your muscles, everything going, and it'll pay off big. Even if you're not into full practice mode, maybe you don't have that time to devote, really good to throw some arrows. And we're so happy we can do that inside our pole building now because the bows, releases, arrows are all right there. We have a table for it in the back, and we just pick it up and shoot. So it's nice indoor morale targets, and really enjoyable to just fling some arrows. Say, yeah, this sounds good. It just continually builds confidence for months and months. And I think we could have this on every deer chore. So maybe we'll. Sorry to bother you or bore you, but now we talk about with our switchgrass. You're putting simazine down before spring green up. That next step is at spring green up when those weeds are 8, 10 inches high, 12 inches, you see those broadleaves starting to form. It's starting to form leaves. Once the leaves are out of those broadleaves, no matter if that grass is 4 inches high or 10 inches high, once those leaves are out of that broadleaf, then I want to spray 2 quarts per acre of glyphosate with 1 pint per acre of 2,4-D mixed in. You get a great kill. So you have the simazine. We notice areas we have simazine from this spring, just 6 weeks ago, everything's lighter green in those areas. You can tell that chemical's doing its job, which is really important for eliminating weeds, especially in your switchgrass. And that's what we're doing this for, because we're spraying now and then we're letting it alone for us. Most of the time we're letting it go for 10 years or more. So it really chemical heavy on the front side and then 0 to no chemicals after that, and we'll let it go for a decade or more. And then a lot of times you're mowing, spraying once. So we might mow and spray once every 7 to 10 years after established, and that's it. Let it go for decades. It's the cheapest thing you can plant. So, but you have to take care of it at the beginning and get it established correctly. So the second spraying, when these weeds are coming up, second meaning the simazine was first, is really critical. And then that sets the clock, because about 4 weeks later, so if we're spraying this week with 2,4-D and Roundup, I would say it's probably going to be next week. So we're going to be in that April 22nd, 23rd time. That means we'll be spraying the end of May. At that time, probably May 20th, May 23rd, we'll have more weeds growing. You spray it, and then we're throwing down our switchgrass within a few days and praying for some late May, June rains, and we'll do really well. And that way, a new area where we haven't done anything with, we'll get great switchgrass germination and growth just for this year. And we're probably not touching that till July. We'll probably mow it one time, and then we won't even be spraying anything till next year. Once we mow, hit it with simazine in the spring, and we'll be good to go. So that's that table. Right now we're doing that full turkey mode. I love turkey season. Now, the other day I was out with Jen, Dante's fiance or girlfriend, Keegan, had the kids out there, and we set up 2 of our turkey blinds in really hot spots, and we have others to set up and move around. We have a really cool redneck ghillie blind that's coming. We'll set that up. It's on a sled. We'll pull it in place for turkey and then deer later. So I love watching that. And we have a lot of our trail cameras right now, and I've talked about this before, that I'm turning those trail cameras to more open areas where we can watch turkeys strutting, coming off their roofs. We're getting to really know where our turkeys are. But it's not only that, it's where they're entering fields, where they're not, where we could set up with a blind if we want to, or go sit on the ground somewhere, which we love to do too. But this is also when we're doing that for turkeys, and we're moving our trail cameras around to more open areas and off of our scrapes, our mock scrapes by stand locations, more in the woods. Then we're also setting that up for batch or groups of bucks that are coming through these same green areas. A lot of these are in little corners on clover. We don't even have 2 acres of clover, but we have small hunting plots and small corners of fields where we can watch turkeys. And then at the same time, those bucks are coming through. And boy, when you get into early to mid-June on mature bucks, you can start to recognize them, which ones they are. So That's really not that far away. We're talking where within 2 months we'll have enough antler growth to actually recognize bucks. That's pretty crazy. That's, again, not that far away, and it really coincides with turkey season because these cameras on turkey, we'll be watching turkey all the way through June, and then 2 weeks later we're getting antler growth that we can actually recognize bucks on. So a lot going on right now. We'll get our first fawns dropping. We'll be able to see in those little open areas, and we're pretty excited. So let alone getting the blinds out, getting our decoys really organized. And Dylan, right down there, if you grab one of those in the box, we just created some of these Tony Myers. Is he South Lacrosse, Dylan? He's over that way anyways.
Yeah, lacrosse area. I'm not sure exactly where.
But anyways, he makes custom calls and really skilled caller. But at the same time, he makes some beautiful, it's a beautiful pot call. And he got our WHS logo in there. So we gave a few of these away as gifts this year. And we love them. This is one of Jen's Christmas presents she really wanted, along with the box call. He makes some beautiful box calls too. You see this one? I think this was leopard wood. But beautiful box calls too. Anyways, he makes us for those, and we love using them. We're not partnered with them or sponsored by him in any means. It's just we like his calls. They're really good. So, Dylan, I know Colin's been using them for a long time. Aaron, my buddy in Coon Valley, has been using them.
I've just been using them for a couple years.
Yeah.
But yeah, great dude, great company, and he's a heck of a caller.
Yeah, really good product. So anyways, really into that right now. And then broadcasting rye and oats. Really like doing that this time of year. We actually have the seed we can use. Obviously, we're a seed company, Pure Wildlife Blends, but we'll throw that down in a lot of our open soil areas, say our brassica areas. So we'll get that seed onto the ground, areas we're going to put corn in. And we have areas that have rye coming in right now, and that's perfect. But the other half, the rye is on our fall power green areas. We spread that rye in the fall. It comes up in the spring. The deer love it. Helps limit weed growth. And in those brassica areas, we don't mix rye and brassica together. It's a very big mess up that people fall trapped into, or even products are sold like that. But you want that pure brassica, and then we have that rye overlaying our power greens over here. So then on this side, we want to plant rye and oats. We want to get that broadcast. And then on that side, a lot of times they're either planting corn into or a buckwheat. And so even though those rye and oats, right now it's mid-April, they might only be in the ground for about 7 weeks. They'll help build the soil. They'll help work on that top 2-3 inches of topsoil. And that's really what you're looking at for not only ag production, food plot production. It just says top 2-3 inches, that's it. And so it puts a lot of root structure in there. We get a lot of organic matter. And then it's a great cover crop for killing and drilling in the corn or our buckwheat, spreading our buckwheat, mowing it over, or cultipacking with our Packer Max, spraying it at the same time. Helps improve the soil, hold the soil this springtime for erosion, and it's a really good first step for going into the season and limiting our use of chemicals. Now, I threw something else up here. This is really a chore. How many sheds you have this year? And I want you to think about, a lot of people look at, man, I want to find sheds, I want to find antlers. This is our pile from this year. And I think we're missing one. We found some really cool ones. This was Ocho we found the other day. He's a really nice one. We have a lot of video of him. This is from LL Beams. This is a small side, huge mass. Really, really cool buck. This was Barry. Barry, we can pick out all these just because of his brow tines. Crazy. I hope Barry's still alive. He's the one that was limping a lot. Bottom line is we're missing some antlers because we saw these bucks holding until they weren't. And they're on the property every day, staying on our property. I know we're missing some. We've only scoured probably a third of our property, not even half. And the point is we found 14 this year. I really like to understand why. Everything we do, for example, if you're in a mountainous area for bedding and deer bedding in the top third, why are they doing that? Well, it might be because all the tops have all the food, they're sun exposed, does are bedding towards the tops, bucks get down. You can't just say, well, bucks always bed in the top third, because that doesn't apply somewhere else. They're always, you have food, they don't bed by food. So food's in the bottom, they bed in the top. Food's at the top, they bed in the bottom. Food's in the top and the bottom, they bed in the middle if there's enough room left over. It teaches you about depth of cover and the requirements that deer need. So when it comes to sheds, why are we finding more this year than last year? Well, we had a really warm winter. When deer have warm winters and there's not a lot of snowpack and frozen ground, they hit greens really hard. So if you have brassica, power greens, they prefer to hit the green blends. We had corn. Because of all the deer here, we had them hit our corn pretty hard this year, but we still had 1.5 acres to 2 acres out of 7 acres that we had to brush hog in this spring. There's still a lot of corn waste. So it tells us, you know, we really don't need the corn to find a bunch of sheds, because our neighbors that had a lot of corn and beans, they even had fewer sheds because they didn't have a lot of green. And then they're brush hogging even more expensive food plot growth in this March. So really a good idea to analyze and say, okay, this is what deer need during the wintertime. Pretty cool to look at the deer herd in general and say, boy, they really love green if it's not too deep in snow, if it's not extreme cold. It really helps you prioritize when your food plots are actually peaking, when you need them to peak. And frankly, we don't need to have corn that gets hit end of December, January, February, March. We need corn that gets hit end of October, November, December. And so you either change corn varieties or don't plant the corn at all, because that base of all food plottings is green. And that even shows when we've had an extended, it's almost like we've had an extended fall. We often said that in January, February this year. Boy, it feels like it's still fall. No leaves on the trees, they're hitting the green fields. No snow on the ground, no frost in the ground in late January, February. So really analyze your situation. Now, some people might look at it like you get a whole bunch of sheds every single year, but you're not seeing them in the fall. And that's a bad thing too. You know, maybe they come into wintering areas and that's where you have your winter cover food. That doesn't mean it's a good thing when you find a bunch of sheds. It doesn't mean it's a bad thing when you don't. Really analyze the situation. Always ask yourself why. And these shed antlers will tell you a lot from year to year, especially if you compare it based on weather, in determining what deer actually like to forage on, not only in the fall, but during the winter months. So those are some of the chores we're hitting this year, or this fall. Those are some of the chores that we're actually hitting this month. And I think my favorite up there would probably be the full turkey mode or shooting my bow. But bottom line is, I hope you're getting a lot done. And as we head into May, we'll have a new list of chores, because there's always something to do on the farm. And I hope you're enjoying it and partaking in improving the habitat and also your hunt and your herd for this fall. Guys, it's food plot time, and I really urge you to check out our food plot company, Pure Wildlife Blends. It's called Pure for a reason. I invite you to check it out. We have food plot blends for all types, and we try to give you all this content on YouTube, articles on the site, to help you make sure you not only do it right, plant it right, but you pick the right seed blend for your circumstances.